Well, yet another federal judge ruling against the Trump administration on those hundreds of thousands of so-called dreamers, young immigrants whose status isn't clear thanks to an Obama-era executive order. Well, the Trump administration says it's not legal. Now the White House has 90 days to better explain its legal position on DACA, or else it's actually going to have to start accepting new applicants. Attorney General Jeff Sessions was asked about the ruling earlier today.
Wouldn't it make sense for the administration to revisit the bipartisan DACA compromise that was proposed earlier this year?
DACA was basically rejected by Congress. Congress did not pass it. And the president had said repeatedly he could not do it on his own.
So let's bring in tonight's panel. Fox News contributor and syndicated radio host Leslie Marshall and radio host Larry O'Connor. Great to have you both with us tonight.
Hi, Shannon.
Thank you for having me.
So unlike the two other judges who've ruled against the administration and saying you can't shut down the DACA program, this judge says you actually have to reopen it, and within 90 days you got to start taking new applications or else. What do you make of it, Larry?
Yeah, DACA wasn't legislation from Congress signed into law by Barack Obama. It wasn't a constitutional amendment. It wasn't even an executive order. It was a memo. It was a memo. And for a federal court to decide that a new president can't reverse a memorandum from the prior president, why don't we just suspend all elections now? We don't need presidents. We'll just have somebody be there, a caretaker for everything that Barack Obama did, because we can't change anything. It's ridiculous.
All right. Well, Congressman Goodlatte, who is the chair of the House Judiciary Committee, said this, much as Larry did. The DACA program was unilaterally created by the Obama administration in a memo penned by former Homeland Security Secretary Napolitano. Just as easily as it was issued, it can be rescinded. Presidential policy is not set in stone and often changes from one administration to the next. But Leslie, so far, 3 judges do not agree.
Well, yes, there are 3 judges that don't agree, and we might note that the third was a George W. Bush appointee, and that is a Republican president. So this is not partisan. What he is saying is, look, you have 90 days to tell me the specifics with regard to criminality. Jeff Sessions in the Department of Justice in the past and even recently have said this has to do with the issue of national security and protecting and securing our borders, where we're talking about 690,000 individuals approximately who are already within our borders, who we know we don't have the means and the finances to deport, if you will, and to constantly say, oh, Congress isn't passing it. Of course they haven't passed it because they constantly have other line items like the wall attached to such pieces of legislation.
Okay, here's a little bit more of what the judge said. He said neither the meager legal reasoning nor the assessment of litigation risk provided by DHS to support its rescission decision, that's to get rid of DACA, is sufficient to sustain termination of the DACA program. But Larry, at this point, if these judges are going to keep ruling in favor of DACA and not only to keep it alive, but to renew it and take new applications, what kind of motivation is there going to be for Democrats to go back to the table and negotiate? Well,
no. And listen, this is going to go to the Supreme Court. And don't forget, there's still a lawsuit against the constitutionality of DACA in the first place because Barack Obama overstepped his bounds by actually trying to write in legislation via the executive branch, which he couldn't do. But the fact that this was a George W. Bush appointee is meaningless. In fact, it reinforces the fact that something really scary is going on in our federal courts right now. If this judge wants to write law, he should run for office. But the judicial branch is not supposed to do this sort of thing and overstep their bounds. You know how I know this is a bad decision? Because when Hillary Clinton was running for president, it was only a year and a half ago, she was running saying, don't elect Donald Trump, he'll reverse DACA. Barack Obama was on the stump saying, don't elect Donald Trump, he'll reverse DACA. They weren't sitting there saying, oh, don't worry, it can't be reversed because it would be unconstitutional. Okay. This obviously is something that can be reversed by this president.
Let's give a quick final word here to Leslie. I mean, do Republicans now have more motivation to get to the table and try to make a deal on DACA? Because if not, it looks like the judge is going to reopen the floodgates.
Yes, definitely. Although Larry would say Democrats, don't have as much incentive. I think I'll agree with you there. One of the reasons I know it's a good deal is that I agree with the judge's decision and Larry doesn't. No, all joking aside, Republicans are going to have to come to the table. But the reality here is, Shannon, that the constituents throughout the country, left or right, majority of people don't feel that these individuals who came here as children with their parents should be punished. They do feel and look at them differently than other documents.
That's fine.
Larry, I know you're
Then pass a law.
I know you're chomping at the bit, but we got to leave it there. Come back. We'll discuss it again. Leslie and Larry,
Thanks,
great to see you both.
Thanks, Leslie.